Okay, so we are in Hilchos Talmud Torah, chapter 5. We were in the middle of halacha vav 2. So we did the first 3 statements. Lo yeshiv b'makom rabo, don't sit in your Rav's place, which plain shot means don't sit in his spot, but the Kesef Mishnah wanted to say it means don't take his place on the council. Lo yachriya devarav b'fanav, do not decide his words in front of him, which we said either means, well, the Rambam said the real answer is that when you have a halachic svara that is equal to your Rav's in terms of weighing and you decide in favor of your own instead of his, you can't do that b'fanav. As opposed to the other shitos that we read that said it means siding with your Rav against another guy or siding with the other guy against your Rav, yeah?
You said halachos, so can you do that for like philosophy?
Yeah, the Rambam specifically said, yeah, it's interesting. He specifically said halachic, which is very interesting, you know, which does make it sound like a jurisdiction type authority thing, even though it's not that far, yeah?
Okay, if it's halachic, which would be say impossible, so like say the halachos of how to construct a kosher bama.
Right. So I think anything in a halachic vein, like
even if it's impossible for everyone to be lemaisa.
Well, then it's not equal svara
on that.
Imagine, I don't know. There's a time where we can construct bombas, and the presumably.
Right, so that's halachic. Yeah. So that's halachic,
no, I'm saying we can never do it since the base of is constructed. So therefore,
if you're doing the sugi about Pesach Mitzrayim versus Pesach Ladoros, and you're talking about Pesach Mitzrayim, even though that was only one time, then that would apply. Yeah. I don't think it means it has to be practiced. It just means it has to be halachic.
Okay.
Yeah. V'lo yistor es devarim, you shouldn't contradict his words, which we said. We didn't answer the question. Oh yeah, so we have the question about isn't this a kolshkein from Machriya? And the only thing we could come up with is the you might think that that's only in front of him and it's even not in his presence. Right. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I would like to see confirmation. You know, like someone who knows the Rambam's tshuva and says that but I'm fine with that. Yeah.
What's the case of Yisra?
So the case would seem to be like any disagreement, like any verbalization of what I would say is any verbalization of a disagreement with him on your, what was that? Yeah, that's the question, right? Because why is it? Machriya means to decide, right? And that's why I think he says. Right, when the shakal. So Yisro would be greater than that. Yeah, even when they're not shakal, right? Yeah, that's what it would seem to be. Like expressing an opinion contrary to your Rav's opinion. And again, I think you have to say that this is when you're doing it as an opinion, meaning like if you're a student of the Rav. And you're learning with someone outside of that, and you quote Rav Moshe's shita that's against the Rav. That's not being so certain. But when you say I disagree with the Rav on this, then that would be the case. Okay. That's what I would think. V'lo yeshiv l'fanav ad sheyomer lo shev. This is new now. You cannot sit in front of him or in his presence until he says sit. Okay, that's like common. I feel like that's going to be true for respect in general. I think this is like unique to the Rav Talmud relationship. V'lo yamod milafanav ad sheyomer lo amod. Don't stand up in his presence until he says stand. Right, like you can't get up like. On your own.
What about? Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh no, right. I mean, like if you are sitting down, let's say like you're right, unless you get his permission. Yeah, or you're at the table like with your father, or yeah.
Like we know in our society, standing until you're told to sit is a sign of respect. But is there any possibility in the Rambam society was the reverse?
Well, he said
Oh,
yeah.
Never mind.
No.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't. What do you call it? When he says Ashim Amon until he says stand, Rishus Lamot, or until he takes permission to stand. I assume that also would apply, like in other words, that applies to both cases. Meaning, like he doesn't need to say explicitly the word sit or stand, right? If you have permission. Okay. Yeah.
Is that like every time you use this, or like
I didn't mean mochel kavod that way. But you know,
Right.
like,
So I,
when
this,
we're in here, you had to
right. So I was thinking about this, and like I think that this is different than being mochel the kavod, right? Like if in other words, mochel kavod means he says I don't care, but if he says I give you permission to leave shiur without asking me, then that's a kiyum. Then you like not kiyum, but then when you leave shiur and it's like known that you're doing it only b'reshus harav,
Right.
then like you're still within the institution of standing and sitting. Yeah.
Right. You said I don't care whether you ask me or not, something like that.
Right. Then
Or, I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe somebody phrase it. Then that'd be more.
that'd be
But
mochel.
is that
Right.
what you mean, like, for first?
No, I think Yitul Rishus is like within the realm of the.
No, I meant like first, like kind of like you restrict in Torah. Like you don't need it more than once.
Right. That could be, or it could be with parameters, like, you know, like let's say he says, let's say like for example, he's okay. Well, I used to have this policy in my class in high school. Is I hate it. It's just a pet peeve when a student raises her hand to ask to go to the bathroom. It is so like, okay, we're gonna interrupt the whole flow. You're gonna raise your hand. I'm gonna be like calculating whether you have a question. And then like, can I go to the bathroom? First of all, like you don't need permission to go to the bathroom, you know, like in terms of that, like, and you're disrupting the entire flow of the thing, you know? So like it was an understood thing. Like I had a rule in my classroom, which was a 1 out at a time rule. I don't care why you're out. Like as long and you just have to look around. If no other students are out, then you can go. You don't need to ask, you know. So like I gave blanket permission for that kind of like leaving, you know. And then a student in that case, if there was already a student out, and let's say the student really needs to go, so then I accept that, you know, you can ask. Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Isaac.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think it's like it seems like you were saying, it seems like this would be really destructive.
Right.
It's the Talmud always asks to like
Right.
get up or sit down.
Right. Yeah. You could. I think that's a matter of debate, though, in terms of whether the upholding and strengthening of the institution of kavod harav is more important than that, because a lot of kavod things are disruptive. You could argue, you know, like for everyone to come in and let's say you are insistent on the Rav saying sit down before everyone sits, so that's a little bit of a waste of time, but it's good for the thing of kavod harav. Or where Pesach walks in and everyone stands up, it interrupts their learning, you know. So I think it is it's a reasonable like, you know, thing. Okay. Ukashi pater me rabo, and when he departs from his Rav, not departs as in dies, but like, you know, he leaves, right? Lo yachzir lo achorav, he should not turn his back to him. Ella nirtal achorav, rather he should like recoil backwards, right? Anyone else have the association with this?
Like walk out backwards.
Nirtal achorav. There's only one other place in the Mishnah Torah where the Rambam says nirtal achorav. Oh, got to review these halachos. This is one that you should have memorized. Avas Hashem and Yiras Hashem. This is Yesodi Torah 2:2. What is the way to love God and fear God? When a person contemplates God's actions and his wondrous great creations, and he sees from them his wisdom, which is without comparison and without end. He immediately loves, praises, glorifies, and desires a great desire to know the great name. Like David says, my soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When he thinks about these same things, he immediately recoils backwards. He either recoil, a better word than recoil. Nirta. I wonder if that's a biblical word or a rabbinic word. Let me just see. Rata. Nope, does not look like it's a biblical Hebrew word. Yeah. V'yira v'yivchad, and he should fear and tremble. V'yeda shehu biria katana shvela afela mid b'das kalmuta l'fnei tamim deos, and recognize that he is a small, lowly, dark creature standing with a puny mind in front of a being who's perfect in knowledge. Kamosh Amar David, like David says, Ki erash mecha ma enosh kisis grano. When I see your heavens and the work of your hands, the sun, the moon, and the stars that you created, what is man that you should remember him? And the son of man that you should recognize him. So this is the type of thing, we've talked about this a little bit before, about like how much is the Mishnah Torah, how much art is there in the Mishnah Torah? Like it's definitely a science, but like like there's certain aesthetic things about the Mishnah Torah. Like, again, the classic example is the fact that there are exactly 1,000 chapters in the entire Mishnah Torah. Is that by accident? Or like certain poetic phrases he uses. I think this is an example of the type of thing where he only uses this phrase in relation to the way that you respond to the Kavod Hashem. And the fact that you're using it for your Rav and that the Rav is equal to Kavod Shemaim, I think this is intentional, He could have said it in another way, right?
What does that mean though? Practically?
So practically means that you don't turn your back on him. You like retreat like facing him in a submissive way, upanav keneged panav, with your face facing him.
Yeah. Okay.
Like kind of the way that we step back in Shemona Esrei. Not in that exact form, but like
People do that all the time. Mostly.
I
People do that when you leave shul.
yeah, people do that when you leave shul. I don't see it as much when people leave their Rav. I mean, maybe people do it.
People do it also like when they leave. I know specifically that people do when they leave the Rebbe's favor. Probably.
Oh, okay. So that's probably from
also.
right. That's probably from this. Yeah.
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 Like this.
Like you just walk. You don't turn your back. You just walk back.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Until you're out of the room, and then you turn.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that I feel like is also modeled after probably just how they did it with kings or how they did it with like dignitaries.
Right.
Yeah. He doesn't even comment on it. Okay.
That's it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. If Rebbe ever wanted to play a real like a spontaneous Simon Says game, he's got a lot of halachic mechanisms to all that. Yeah. Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna get up. You could get up.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that I don't think there's anything more we need to say there. We good? V'chayed la'amod mipnei rabo mishir enu mirachok malo enav. So a person is obligated to stand in the presence of his Rav once he sees him from a distance of like into his eyesight, meaning like once he enters into your field of vision is how we say it in English. Ad she's kasim imenu, until he is concealed from him, below your komaso, and he no longer sees his stature. Now, lo your komaso I think means like if you see like the tip of his head or like his hand or whatever, then that's like then that's fine. Like for example, many mornings when I'm giving Mishlei shiur, Rav Pesach walks into that room and I see him and no one else sees him. And then when he sits down like on that chair to the left there, and like he's not in my eyesight anymore. Also, I have terrible peripheral vision because I have very corrective lenses. So maybe I could see him if I had normal person vision, but I can't see him. The achar yeshiv, and then you could sit. Yeah. So what's interesting here though I thought the Rambam brings down the halacha about not standing for your Rav more than twice a day because you don't want it to be greater than the Kavod of Shechina.
I've never heard that before. But isn't the Rambam? I thought the Rambam said that you can see it once you have you can fast.
Oh, interesting. I've never heard that either.
We're in the measures and the big comes into the measure.
Right.
Right. So I can't stand the whole time.
Right. So what I thought, and I don't have a source for this, but what I always thought is that there was like, and I don't know if this is like a halachic shita or an implicit reshus thing of like once he reaches his place, then like there's like an implicit permission to sit.
Yeah, that's what everyone does.
That's what everyone does. Oh yeah, interesting.
And that's why that became like the law.
So the Yishuv Hadas thing is interesting because that is one step. It's possible, but it's like one step removed, like from like I don't see an intrinsic connection between Yishuv Hadas of the Rav and like reaching his place. I see as like a category within standing up for people and stuff. Whereas Yishuv Hadas is more like we saw in the halachos earlier about asking the Rav questions. Like I don't know what it would have to do with Yishuv Hadas. It'd be interesting if you can find that source. And then he says, let's see if Rav Makbili has anything.
So practically, basically, the Rav walks in, you stand for as long as you see him, or he tells you to sit.
Right, yeah. And I think the Ram doesn't need to say until he tells you to sit because I think that's implicit from before,
Right,
yeah. I should ask for Pesach though, if the reason why we sit is because that's the reshus that's like given here, or if like there is a halacha about until he reaches this place.
Everyone does, like not just white people.
Yeah. Okay. V'chayev adam lahachbil es pnei rabo baregel, and a person is obligated to visit his Rav, or to greet the presence of his Rav on the regel. Meaning not necessarily to go and visit, but like to may have an audience with his Rav on the regular. But I think they say, Rambam doesn't say this, but I think the source of that is it's a kiyum in Aliyah L'Regel in terms of seeing the Shechina. Or I think they connected to Shechina also. That kolha makabel pnei Rabo kilu makabel pnei Shechina. I think that's like a statement. If it's not, it should be. Okay. He says, yeah. Lavo v'lifkoshos, yeah.
So what's the unity of this halacha?
Standing and sitting, no. Right. That I think that's why the editors made this into a. Actually, even the way the editor divided it doesn't necessarily make sense. If I were a bad editor who didn't respect the Rambam, what I would do is I would put lo yeshib b'makom rabba v'lo yachriya devarav b'fanav v'lo yisras devarav. That would be like in its own thing, and then all the stuff about, or maybe even the yeshiv and the amida and the yeshiva would be all in one thing. Yeah.
I feel like if I was a really bad editor, I would move lo yeshiv b'makom rabba after the
correct
statements and then separate them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, what is the unity here? I mean, okay. I have an inferior svara.
So do I.
Oh, you go first.
No,
I insist.
That okay, I'm really not a fan of this part.
Okay.
But it's the miscellaneous other couple of things. So I think this is the last part. It looks like this is the last part.
Oh yeah.
Where he's gonna talk about like specific couple of things.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what you have going for you. The default title of this episode is more Kavod Harav actions. So because I never know what it's titled until afterwards. So I'm gonna say a word and then look up the definition to make sure I'm saying it right. And then that's gonna be my bad svara. Okay. Gravitas. Oops, sorry.
Intensity.
Gravitas. Dignity, seriousness, or solemnity of manner. So what I think this is that the Rav's like presence should exert a certain gravitas that warrants certain types of nihugim that span a lot of different realms of conduct. So like not sitting in his place fits into that because there's a certain like aura around his place, you know. You have a better idea?
No, unrelated. Back to the original.
Okay, fine.
I found this source.
Okay, good. I'll ask you for it in a second. And then certainly not undermining him either in his presence through machriya or out of his presence through yistor. Not being independent in your own motion or your own like scenarios, like you only sit by his reshus, you only stand by his reshus, leaving him and acknowledging his presence as you leave in a way, and then standing up when he enters into the room and then like seeking him out on the regular. Like there's a certain like aura of like kavod, gravitas is the best English word we have for it, and then all these halachos like are responses to that.
Yeah, finding the last one is seeking out an audience with him. It's like,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What is the last one really?
You have to visit him on a Yom Tov, or not a Yom Tov, sorry, on a regal.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I actually think I guess a question for that, like when on the gravitas, as far as somebody involved, also think could this possibly be sort of submission to the Rav?
So the manner of it is definitely submission, right? I didn't want to use that to define the specific paragraph because submission is really lots of other things as well.
Mhm.
You know, like a lot of the other halachos we've done. So I think like this is like responding to the gravitas. You like my bad svara better than your bad
I
svara?
don't think it's a bad.
Okay, good. That's even better. Yeah.
The question is like, what's separated from the previous halacha?
What's the submissiveness in the previous one?
No, what's
Oh.
like? Why is the previous halacha also not gravitas?
Yeah, it's a good question. What was included? Is it just from here? Yeah, what do we say there? We said it had to do with the
But it's
positioning.
like some sort of like almost like brazenness,
Yeah, right.
like
Yeah, I mean, I see your question, Yosef. Like it is a
Maybe switch it.
like if in other words like this, if you scramble up these halachos, I still don't think my svara will change, which is an indication that that's a bad svara. You know, but I do see it does feel slightly different.
Yeah, I think like let's say like not like undressing in front of your Rav. It's not like it doesn't like give off this aura of like, you know, of like the Rav being like a special person.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just-
you. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's just you're not like disrespecting him.
Right. Like, let me just I'm reminded of like the Rambam. You don't have to write this down. The Rambam in the Morning Nevuchim in the end when he says a person doesn't conduct himself in the presence of a king in the same way he conducts himself in his own house when he's like with his family or whatever. Like with halacha vav, it's like I wouldn't do something like this in front of my rav. Whereas with vav 1, it's how could I do this in front of my rav? And in vav 2, it's like his presence warrants this type of conduct. Yeah.
I would think of a verse for vav 2 is something feels nice word. It's generically respectful. Whereas vav 1 seems to be stuff which like for your I guess for someone else, would you make sure not to walk by their side?
It's a good question. Yeah.
It's something that we have
I hear.
Vav 2's version, vav 1.
Yeah, I think part of what I'm having a hard time with is in vav 1. I don't think I understand clearly all of the tefillah stuff. I get the other ones, but the tefillah stuff we didn't, especially the side one.
Yeah, I was kind of ignorant still.
Yeah. Chaim, what did you find that you perked up about?
Sorry, it said which mean why we're knowing it's like kind of Nazi.
Yeah.
And that time, and you see your Nazi, and you end up going to his mom.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. So I guess we'll see that when we get to it. Okay. Halacha ches.
I probably wouldn't know exactly.
Yeah. It's good to know that it's a category, though.
Yeah.
All right.
I have an example.
Yeah.
I don't know if like I actually do this, but I feel like I've seen this on TV shows. That like when a judge, like for a court case, when a judge is going to enter the room, then they say like all rise, the honorable, whoever. And
right.
There's like a song like everyone's like just like standing until they like just there. It tells everyone they can sit and like that. It like feels very like formal.
Yeah. So I have
I
have an anecdote about that also, is that and I heard this I think from Johnny. So this is secondhand, but like I trust you, I just don't trust my memory, is that I think we were in the base midrash and like the UPS guy walked in and delivered a package, and then like soon after he walked in, then Rapizah walked in and everyone stood up. So like the UPS guy like asked someone like why that was, and so we explained it to him, and he said like, oh, it's like in the military, and we said yes, and he said like it's nice to see that kind of respect nowadays, like because that's not something America is not a culture of respect, so like so it's a similar thing. So you had your hand.
Sometimes I feel like the second one I know this is weird, it feels more active in some way, like even the starting point is saying avoiding actions. Yeah. Whereas the previous one, it's either doing doing passive things or avoiding.
So maybe I don't know if this is the same intuition that you're going with, but okay, and then maybe this is worse than my bad one. Vav 2, or this whole paragraph with Vav 2, this involves responding to your Rav. All of these have to do with responding to your Rav. Whereas Vav 1 is not.
What about Yistor?
Yistor is a type of response. Well, not responding like in live dialogue. I mean, like it's all in. No, that's too broad. Yeah.
Oh, hold on, never mind.
It's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think in fear of that is the fact that I think sitting in front of your Rav like you'd sit in front of a king is a gravitas thing. I think. Yes, but it's not responding.
Right. It's interesting though because even that halacha is just a alternative to the lo yasev, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's how it's phrased. Ela yoshev ki yoshev v'nei melech. Not that is a disproof or anything like that, but the lo yasev seems to be the primary thing.
Oh yeah, I guess it's like no like slack off and be like,
yeah, right. What were you saying, Chaim? Okay, let's go on. Ein cholkin kavod l'talmid b'fnei harav. We do not give kavod to the student in front of the Rav. Ela im kein haya derech rabbo lachlok lo kavod, unless it is the way of the Rav to give the student kavod, right?
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but Pesach's Rav is Rebbe, right?
Yes.
So what does it mean?
Yeah, so if let's say Rebbe didn't give Pesach Kavod, then it will be problematic to give Pesach Kavod in front of Rebbe.
Yes. Yeah. Correct. V'chol malachos.
Why?
I think because this is the Talmud of the Rav, and like you go with the highest kavod.
Why can't I just give them both Kavod?
Well, all of these are in what?
This is all about your Rav Mufak, yeah.
So how that work? Well, I'd say,
What's the holiday then?
oh, for if they have a Rebbe versus the Rav, right?
Right,
The Rav would Rebbe's Rav,
right,
or they have Rebbe's Rav.
right.
But
So,
not like Rebbe's Rav.
so to me, tell me this.
Don't you how more in front of your Rebbe's Rav, or
No, in front of- don't- So let's say your Rav Mufak is there, and then his Rav Mufak is there.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that for you to show showing kavod to your, let me put it. If you showed kavod to your Rav in the presence of his Rav, that would be like a degradation of his. Is it because it's a degradation of your Rav's kavod to his Rav, or is it because
of their Kavod relationship?
right? Meaning you're respecting their kavod relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's because if you, let me give an example. I don't know. Whatever. Like if you,
A common example, I think,
yeah, I feel
is
like with
son,
people,
father, grandfather, right? Like I think that's a more common relationship.
I feel like you're supposed to give fruit.
You put in a problem, and it's not a problem.
Well, it doesn't matter. If you,
Well, let's put it-
okay,
yeah.
if you have your Rebbe in the room,
Yeah.
and then your grand Rebbe
Yeah.
comes in, right? You don't need to give respect to your grand Rebbe. You don't have to, because he's not your
Correct.
Rebbe.
Right.
Well,
But if you were to then give respect to your Rav
Yeah.
and then didn't give respect to your grand Rav,
Right.
it would look, the grand Rav look bad.
Yeah. Right. And that would, but what would be bad about that though? That
It
would
just
be
make him look like he's like nothing, but he's not. This is like the guy where everything's coming from.
no.
He's
But
the
are you
grand
saying
Rav.
though? So because you're saying though that it's out of respect for the grand Rav's kavod, and Isaac was saying it's out of respect for your Rebbe's kavod relationship with his Rebbe. Those are two different models. Yeah, Yosef.
Whether that from the perspective, I guess of the grand Rav,
Yeah.
if his Talmud is still seeing color from someone else, it looks as though he's setting himself up as a Rav and therefore disrespecting him. So if you respect your Rav, that turns into a case where it looks like your Rav is disrespecting his Rav.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
closer to what Isaac was saying.
Okay.
Yeah. Fine.
this might be where I think, but half of what different explanation of the things like that's in halachos.
Yeah.
Maybe when it says Talmud, you might have Talmud, right?
Meaning not a Talmud of his Rav. Right. 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 That's true. It doesn't say Talmud. It doesn't say.
Don't use that Talmud.
Right, so let's just run it through with that then. Ein cholkin kavod l'talmid bifnei harav, which means that I can't, let's say, give kavod to a fellow talmid chacham in front of my Rav.
Yeah.
Right, meaning that even though there is a mitzvah to honor all talmidei chachamim, which we'll see in the next parak, then the kavod of my Rav overrides that. And if I gave kavod to them, then that would be a direct blemish in my kavod to my Rav.
Wait, it's like a colleague?
A colleague, yeah, Talmud Chaver, a colleague,
Yeah.
Talmud, yeah.
I mean, like,
Let's say like me and like Rabbi Zimmer, right?
but not like other yeshiva guys to me.
Well, so that's gonna be part of our question in the next paragraph about like
I think this is enough.
Like, is it other yeshiva guys or is it like
That-
Rabbi
that's-
Zimmer or Rabbi Faith?
that's a question of who you consider a Talmud Chaver. So that will take over the next one. And this paragraph, yeah. So that is a good question. It's just we'll take that up. But certainly, let's say like for me to give kavod to Rabbi Zimmer, Rabbi Fader in front of Rav Pesach, I can't do that unless Rav Pesach is noeg to give them kavod, and then I could do it because then it's going through his kavod. Yeah. All right. That's a cleaner read. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. V'chol. Thanks. V'chol malachos she'ha'eved osed l'rabo tamid osed l'rabo. So this is the unstructured one. Okay, all labors that an Eved does for his master, a Talmud does for his Rav. Okay, and that's not legislated in particular. That's going to go based on the society. V'im haya b'makom, does he give examples? Makbili? Makbili says Sha'evet is Hagoy HaKanani, so like an Evet Kanani, like a non-Jewish servant, so like real servant. V'im, right, like not an Evet Ivri.
So does that mean that that the Rav could give him avoda b'far? There was like avoda that like
Not.
I don't think so because he is a Jew.
yeah, but that wasn't isn't that the difference between every county?
It is. I don't think it means you transfer all the halachos to them. I think it means like the malachos that he would. Well, first of all, this is directed towards the Talmud, right?
How did you know that it's not?
I don't know. I think, is it because an Evet Ivri? Yeah, I'm not really sure.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Yeah, that's Rambam Bekius. That's not. He doesn't even. Does it say a source? Evet Ivri nafsho shvila re'eh avadim 1 zayin. We can look at that if we have time. Okay, but then he says v'im haya b'makom she'ein makir no. So this is a funny halacha. Okay, yeah.
I get for half meaning of even because if it's a non-Jew, it's like what halachos even apply to
Well,
so he has to do. Like there are ways you would have to treat him with this non-Jewish slave of any halachos.
That he has to do.
Yeah.
I don't think
I mean-
the halachos would explain for this sadness. I think like you were saying before, like whenever the action and you for his method,
Right.
not in a halachic sense, it's just like I don't know, you get some hot water,
Yeah.
and that's what you should do for your own.
Yeah. I'm just laughing about a pilot season of Family Guy. I always think about this when we think about like menial tasks that you order Avadim to do. That Stewie's there, and I forget someone's in a situation where like they have to like they're like in an Evan position, and he's like, "Get me some water." Okay, now cut it. And he's like, "But sir, it's water. It's just you idiot, freeze it and cut it." It's just like this useless like thing. I don't know. That's my association. Anyway, this is a funny halacha right now. If they're in a place where people don't recognize him, meaning the Talmud, and he didn't have tefillin, and remember this is a time when people wore tefillin all the time. And he's worried that maybe people will actually assume he is an eved. Then he should not put on his shoes or take off his master's shoes, his Rav's shoes. So like, and this is a weird thing that comes in halacha, like from time to time, is we're very makpid on assumptions that someone is an eved. Like we don't want people to assume that you're an eved if you're not actually an eved. So like, it's just an oddly particularized halacha, I guess because like taking off your master's shoes is like a really,
Pretty low.
yeah, it's pretty low,
Pretty
literally.
right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, especially because shoes were nasty back then, right?
I think it's
Yeah, but like,
I think it's also in part because they weren't using tables, so since you did everything on the floor they would take off their shoes because you don't want to track mud onto your table.
I don't know what the table setup was.
Well, the floors were dirt. So
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. So this is an interesting halakha also. Yeah, this is one of these like practical things I don't really know how to deal with. Anyone who prevents his Talmud from serving him is withholding chesed from him, and is removing the yoke of fear of heaven from him. So that really seems to say that like, it's not saying that the Rav should be like ordering his Talmudim around, but it sounds like he's saying that if the Talmud wants to do a Kavod for the Rav and the Rav objects, which you could see a Rav doing, like first of all, it's weird. Secondly, like
also if there are 10,000 Talmudim.
Yeah, that's also true. A little overwhelming. But like it's you could see the Rav either feeling awkward or feeling like I don't deserve this, or it's okay, like I don't want to inconvenience you. And that's the audience that this is addressing, saying like, no, like this is a tremendous opportunity to cultivate your Shemayim and to do chesed of like the hakar satov for your Rav. And if you take that away, then that's like it's like the type of thing where like there are people who will give gifts and then they'll be insistent, like, don't thank me, or like, don't, like it puts you in a weird spot. And like, you should allow the person to know that. Yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
Also, I feel like it.
Yeah.
I think it's actually maybe more similar to people who are don't who won't accept a gift.
Yeah, right.
Where
Sonim matanos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't the rubbing mouth of Kavod?
Right. So this is why I find this an interesting thing, because one way to read this is that if a Talmud wants to do a particular service from you and you say, I don't need that, then that's what he's criticizing. And then the other way is a stronger argument that it would be like saying that a Rav should not be mochel his kavod in areas of shimush, in areas of service, And by the way, just to clarify, this is only talking about service, meaning standing up before your Rav, being mochel, that would have nothing to do with this.
Right.
This is like in the service.
The Rav literally just doesn't want it. Like the example that comes to my head is like a Talmud off, like you're at lunch or whatever, or dinner, or and the Talmud offers the rest some food, but they just don't want to eat that food.
Right, but then I think I think that's in the realm of like that's not denying service. That's just saying you don't want the food. But like
can I go get you a glass of water? No, I don't really want water right now.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Quenched.
Right, that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
give an example, right? I usually at the end of my I always offer to put away the slaughter.
Yeah.
Anyway, I offered to put away the slaughter, but the Finnegan said, no, I can do it, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
what
That's
we're
what
not.
we'll do.
Not,
Right. Yeah.
I don't want it, it's that.
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you another example.
What's the conceptual difference?
Well,
Because part of the service of offering food is to offer the food. Okay. And if the person says no, it doesn't mean that you didn't do the service of offering the food. Right? Is that
yeah. It's like
the waiter's still doing his job even if you don't order dessert. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think kind of example. If let's say he could offer to put it away and or somebody could be like no, I'll do it. Then that's like he's not accepting the covenant of being offered that. But if he says no, I actually want to continue learning the sefer.
Right.
It's not like he's saying
yeah.
He's not, yeah.
Yeah. Right. I'll give you another example also, which I will stop the recording for.
Okay.
I mean, it was a good example, but I don't need to repeat it. The whole Talmud shemazalza b'davar mikol kavod rabo. Any Talmud who is now mezalzel is a difficult word to translate. So you can translate as to degrade or to treat lightly, but I don't know if this is actively disrespecting or just disrespecting through inaction or through not taking it seriously. But any Talmud who's mezalzel b'davar mikol kavod rabo gorem l'shchina shetistalik misrael. He's causing the shchina to depart from Israel, which is a bad thing. Yeah.
Also, just thinking back on the previous part of the. I guess the rabbi doesn't want his Talmud to serve that. The argument of your Shemaim that is this saying that the Rav creates a spirit of camaraderie that decreases his yira?
So that's an interesting thing also, right? Is you're saying that there's other categories of other ways to be poor mimenu yira Shemaim.
And I'm saying that that's what it means because of the Rav. It says I don't want this. I don't want this color. That the Talmud is not going to relate to him in that way, and he just will have less yira, less of a concept.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, but there are other ways to be poor yira other than denying opportunities of service. Yeah.
Are you saying that those are not? Okay.
He's just not making a statement about that. He's just giving it, for example, you could say you could make an argument like Oren was asking about earlier. Let's say a Rav says, "I'm mochel all facets of kavod Rav." That would definitely be being poor your Shemaim from your Talmud. It's just that that's not what the Rambam was addressing. By implication, that would be a bad thing to do. But
I just give an example. I guess a question. In one of the something allowed. It might be the rest. I don't remember what. And the beginning came to have a little bit about reply, but it's rational.
Yeah, right.
For fun.
Right.
I imagine that when you Torah.
You would think that, right? Yeah. The Rav said that. Yeah, I mean, it's a complicated relationship, right? And that's what the Rav says there in that passage. I'm familiar with the passage, and he says that Rav Chaim wanted to be one of the guys,
right.
And he didn't have any of the dignity of a Rosh Yeshiva, and that was his personality. And the Rav said, "I'm not like that," And so like it's going to be how each Rav crafts the nature of the relationship with his Talmidim is going to be somewhat dependent on his personality, their personality, society, and like these factors have to be taken in. Like this is a factor of like what is happening to your students, your Shemayim, based on how you're relating to them. You know, like that. It's calculus. It's not like an absolute thing. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because at the end of the day, the Rav can be milchel, and he can be milchel whatever he wants. Right. So at the end of the day, it's up to him. Yeah.
Yeah, it almost seems like a buffet of options that the Rav could choose from for like, you know, setting up his like plate of Kavod.
Yes.
And like there's, you know, he has to like think about, you know, what he wants, but also what would make like a healthy plate.
Right. As long as he doesn't deny the Talmud the ability to like to set up the plate.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Ra'a es the Shechina thing, by the way. Yeah.
I have a question about the Eved thing.
Yeah.
Does that mean that like I mean, I think it's like a little weird trying to like balance that with like the fact that it's not actually an Eved. Like it doesn't, you know, like the Talmud has to like be able to like support himself, for example.
Yeah.
Like so like how did the two factors like, you know, like how,
yeah, I think it's easy. Also, you want to answer?
I think
okay.
I think it's like I don't think it means like follow the Rav around in the middle of these evidence, but when you're around the Rav and act in a certain manner.
Right. And also the Talmud, this is a directive to the Talmud saying that the Talmud should like look for opportunities to honor his Rav by doing Eved-like services for him. Not that you have to function in the capacity of Eved.
I kind of think actually means Zafki, yes, function in capacity of Eved, because because it mentions the case where you can't take off his shoes if you don't have your film because it'll actually look like you're Eved. So this means you have to be doing this.
I don't think it means you have to go to the wrong house every night to take off your shoes. If you're around the wrong, you're not. It's not the same thing as actually function as an Eved.
Yeah.
Well, if you're around the road, then yeah, you would function like
yeah, but I was nothing. I didn't like what the rock like common has other things to do.
Right.
I'm saying that concept of being evident only when you're around the road.
Yeah, and also that there are natural parameters like during shiur, you could be washing your Rav's car right now, but clearly we don't expect you to go wash your Rav's car. You're in shiur, you're learning. You know, like this is just a paradigm that he's throwing out there to say like this is an appropriate expression of Kavod. I don't think he's dictating particulars like that. Yeah, your question. Yeah.
What is the unity of this whole everything with the input and total problem?
Say it again.
What's the unity in that?
Well, with unity in this whole paragraph here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like Evan and also in the highlight of
right.
It seems totally unrelated.
Yeah. This is another hard one.
So there's this, you have to have a unique Rav Talmud, personal Talmud Rav Kavod. And it's important to keep that intact.
Personal, like,
isn't like you can't have your Kavod to your Rav mixing with other Kavods.
Right, that's definitely good for the first sentence.
And you have to, I guess the second one's like is you have to be covered like an Eved. The Rav can't break this Kavod, and you can't break this Kavod.
It doesn't feel like a unity to me. Yeah, I'm not sure. Especially because the last part.
It doesn't do about like a relationship.
Yeah, it does, and it is weird that there's the statement about like that's directed to the Rav himself, right? This is not all statements directed at the Talmud.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that suggests the relationship thing also.
And I mean,
yeah. It's hard to not be too broad here. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I feel like it just applies to the whole time.
Yeah. I don't know. It's good. It's a good question.
All
right. Ra es Rava over al divrei Torah. So if he saw his Rav transgress principles of Torah, Omer lo, he should say to him, Li madatanu Rabbeinu kafakach, didn't our Rav teach us such and such? Okay, so that's like, meaning you. So this is what I always wonder, right? So I know I've had students who like clearly were programmed to say stuff like this from a young age. Let's say your Rav didn't teach you this. Like, in other words, is this the exact thing you have to say, or is this just an example of like you should bring it to his attention respectfully?
Well, I think he's gonna talk about it.
Anytime you mention a shmua in front of him, something a shmua, a piece of Torah that you heard, Omer lo, you should say to him, Kach limadatanu Rabbeinu. This is what our Rav taught us. The al yomar davar shelo shama miravo. A person should not say something that he didn't hear from his Rav, unless he mentions the name of the person who said it. Ukashiyamus rabo, and when his Rav dies, korea kol bagadav, he should tear all of his garments, meaning all the layers. Not all the stuff in your word, but meaning like every layer. Achu magalias leave until he reveals his heart. And he should never mend it.
Why is this here?
So that's an interesting thing. I mean, it's also in Hilchos but it's here because it is part of Kavod Harav, right? Yeah.
But it's really weird that it's in this halacha.
It is weird that it's in this halacha. Yeah.
On the first point of the halacha.
Yeah.
Let's
see. Over here, Omer lo kamosha kasav b'inyan mora'av, like it is written in mora'av, kiluhu shoel mimeno, as if he's asking v'lo kamasira, as if he's asking him, not as if he's like rebuking him.
I don't want to be so mad about Mamrim, but that seems like it's not like you have to say exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. I think so also.
More like this.
Yeah. Let's just look it up. Vav Yud Aleph. Yeah. Vav Yud Aleph. Wait, I'm not in the right place. We're in Mamrim. Vav Yud Aleph. Hamam Zer Chayev B'Kavod Aviv Umora'o. Yeah, a mamzer is obligated in honoring his father and in revering him. Alpha Pishu Pater al Makasav al Kilasa. It's interesting. Until even though he's pater on striking him and cursing him, that's very weird. Achiasi tshuva, until his father does tshuva. Shafilu haya aviv rasha ubalaveros, because even if a person's father was a rasha and a balaveros, mechavdo umisyara mimeno. Apparently, this is a machlokus in the post game. I just read this yesterday. That the Shulchan Aruch paskins like the Rambam, that even if your father's a rasha, then you have to honor him, and the Ramah says you don't honor him if he's a rasha. So there must be a machlokus rishonim. I don't know who the other rishon is though. Ra'os over al divrei Torah. If you see him violating divrei Torah, lo yomer lo Abba avarta al divrei Torah. Don't say father, you transgress words of Torah. Elo yomer lo, you should say Abba kasav b'Torah kach v'kach. You should say father, it is written in the Torah such and such. Kiluhu shol mimeno, or isn't it written in the Torah such and such? Lo kamasir, not like you're like scolding him. Yeah.
I think
right.
It doesn't mean
exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah. And I could testify. This is another thing that I was makpid on expunging from my students' vocabulary. That there were students who were so trained to like never say anything to disagree. They're like, Rabbi Schneeweiss, isn't it true that blah blah blah? I was like, just talk like a normal person, like say like you're wrong, and it annoyed the obsequiousness like annoyed me, which I'm not saying that the halakha is bad. I'm saying like I was personally annoyed by that. Okay.
And that's the term that means you were mochel.
I was mochel
on this.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the one thing. If you see him over on divrei Torah. And then when you mention a shmua in his name, a shmua in front of him, you should make sure to say it. You should notice when you say his shmua, right? Something you heard from him, you should say, "You taught us XYZ." And then when you say something that you did not hear from him, then you should mention the name of the person who said it. It's funny here, right? Because you should do that anyway. But how's that like part of Kavod Harav? Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what it does seem like. Yeah.
That could also be that if you just say unquote, let's say everyone in the room knows who it's from. If you just say unquote, it sounds like you're putting you're having words that are equal to the Rav.
Yeah, I can see that, right. In other words, you want to make sure that this is a citation, not your own, like,
Yeah.
you're not exerting your own thing. Yeah, that's a good thing. What do you say?
That's what Rambam Bekius says.
Yeah, he says, Ad shiyaskir shem omro, kish omer davar ben shem acherim, tzarech lahaskir eshamam, shlo yichashvu sherabo omer oso, so that they shouldn't think that your Rav said it. The shema hu cholek, maybe he disagrees. Aval kishu omer davar mash b'shem rabo, ino tzarech letzayin as a davar b'forash. When you say something in the name of your Rav, you don't need to say it explicitly. You've named shabar shalamad oso mirabo hamuvha, because it's clear you learn it from your Rav. Yeah, right.
I actually misread.
Yeah, right. He's saying like to clarify for other people, right?
I thought it was Shalo Yifashu Rabu Shalma.
Right.
Whenever you say anything on source, it's just assume that it's from your Rav.
Yeah, I mean, I think that has also changed a lot now with the proliferation of Sfarim, but like,
and also I think with the proliferation of Rebbeim.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, I mean, this is on that Rav Shachter podcast with the spicy take on the Aruch HaShulchan. Then he also says that, like, I mean, sounds like he's saying you really should not like just learn Mishnah Brura and like and like just follow halacha from Sfarim. You should really like learn all halacha l'maaseh from your Rav, like. Which I don't know how to reconcile. Like the guy who was interviewing him was like trying to like get parameters of that, and it wasn't entirely clear. But and that's even now he's saying, Rav Shachter saying.
Why is that preferable?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, and then when your Rav dies, you're Korea Bagadav. Yeah.
Based on like questions like that.
Based on what?
Questions that I've asked.
Yeah.
It seems like there isn't really like a good way to just like get the halacha from Spartan, because like let's say like the Mishnah Berurah might say something, but let's say like our Shulchan disagrees, and and it's not like you can you can't just like pick one thing and just be like relying on.
Right. So the way that was one of the questions posed to Rav Shachter, and what he said, the alternative though is like, can't I go through the sugya on my own and evaluate it? And Rav Shachter was saying, no, you should ask your Rav.
Yeah.
Wow, that's weird.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a question in general about like what it means to learn halacha from Sfarim. And again, like Rambam clearly disagrees with Rav Shachter because he wrote the Mishnah Torah to disagree with Rav Shachter. Like, he wrote the Mishnah Torah so that people could paskin out of the Mishnah Torah. Yeah. Okay, let's just read this halacha in Avil. Where was it? Ches Gimel, thank you. So this is the same halacha in Ches Gimel. So Mamrim. Okay, so actually let's look at 8:2. Kama shiur hakera tefach. How much do you have to tear is one tefach. Ve'eno tzarech lahavdil sfas beged u'mutar lo likro b'kli. Okay, you don't need to. I forgot what this means exactly. I have to go in a little while. You can use an implement like a knife. You can do it like privately, not in front of people. You could like put your hand under your shirt and like tear it. You only have to tear your outer garment. For all 7 days, the tear is displayed outwardly. Okay, that's not what we wanted. Okay, so that's all by other mason, but not by your father or mother. But on your father and mother, you tear not just the outer garment, you tear until your heart is exposed. I don't remember what the spasa beged is. You can't use a kli, it has to be with your hand. Outside in front of everyone. You tear all the garments that you're wearing. Does that mean that? Yeah, but does that mean if you don't do it, then it's not ma'akiv, or does it mean that? I'm not sure. I'm just going to finish reading the halacha. If you switch to a different garment, you're obligated to tear for all the shiva. V'chein al aviv al imo cholitz ketefo umotzi zroo min hachalak. You like undo your shoulder and take your arm out from the garment. Achi iskala ketefo uzroo, to the point where you're revealing your shoulder and your arm. And you walk like that in front of the
Beer.
Yeah, the beer. Yeah. And once you bury your father or mother, you're not obligated to take it off. Is this the right halacha? Or maybe that was just citing. Maybe he doesn't. I thought he brought down an
I
Abel.
think, I think he was just saying what Muslim meant.
Oh, here we go. 9:2. Kaderech shekorei adam al aviv al imo kachu chayav lekro al rabo shalim do Torah. Just like a person tears for his father and mother, which is what we just read, so too he's obligated to tear for his rebbe who taught him Torah. Vel hanasi, and on the nasi al av beistin al rov hatibor shenerag, or if the majority of the congregation is, or a lot of people in the congregation are killed. Vel birkas Hashem, and on hearing the God's name being cursed. Al sefer Torah shenisraf, and on a sefer Torah that's burned, Val Ara Yehuda, and on seeing the destroyed cities of Judah, Val Yerushalayim, and on Yerushalayim, Val Mikdash. And then here he says in test Hey, how do you know that you tear for your Rav? Kederech kera aviv, in the same way you tear for your father. Shnemar, it says, V'hu mitzaik avi rochav Yisrael parashav lo ra'ahu od v'chazik b'bagada v'karaim l'shnaim karaim. So that's what when Elisha saw Eliyahu ascend to heaven in the fiery chariots, which you see from here, Rambam holds he died, right? That he says, he cried out, Father, Father, Rochav Yisrael Parashav, and then he didn't see him again. V'chazek, he grabbed his garment, v'kraim l'shnaim karaim, and he tore him into two. V'kan shechayav l'havdi hasafa. I think chayav l'havdi hasafa means they have to be like separate, but I don't know exactly physically what that means. Okay, I gotta go. But let's stop here for today and plan to resume in 2 weeks. And hold on a second.